Hey, what's going on there, guys? Nick here from Absolute MTG, and welcome to the first installment of a brand new series called MTG Stock Market, where we're going to be taking a look at price trends for the standard format and cards that have gone up in price. So for this week, we have Ugin the Spirit Dragon, Ashiok Nightmare Weaver, and Offense of the Foremost, Perilous Vault, and Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth in our top 5. In our number 1 spot here, we have Ugin the Spirit Dragon sitting at a comfortable and very high $32.54 with a 3% gain of $1.05. Ugin the Spirit Dragon was a card that I think a lot of people looked at and were like, oh, this guy's really expensive, maybe it's all just hype, the set's coming out, everything's inflated because of pre-orders, everybody's rushing to get their hands on this card. Actually, turns out this guy's pretty good. The guy's good in blue-black control, bug control, or bug walkers, and even Abzan decks are playing Ugin the Spirit Dragon because, quite frankly, whenever you get to resolve him and you minus X, he's kind of a house, especially against certain matchups like the whip decks where you can just clear out their field pretty easily, even if they've overextended because they have like a Whip of Airbos and they think they are in good realm because, well, what's the worst you can do? Crux of Fate and get rid of all of my stuff? I'll just whip it back. Ugin the Spirit Dragon's actually pretty good at solving a lot of different problems for a lot of decks, and ultimately, just having a big reset button that just sits there and threatens your opponent every turn is pretty awesome. Next, we have our Ashiok Nightmare Weaver sitting at $12.01 of an average with a 7% gain at 83 cents of an increase. So Ashiok, again, is a card that has more of a narrow implication and is more narrow for the decks that actually are going to be playing it. However, with Ashiok, it is a great closer card and a great win condition for decks like Bug again and Blue-Black. I know personally I'm playing Ashiok both in my main board and in my sideboard of my control deck for Blue-Black control. And the card's really sweet whenever you just get to mill out your opponent or even just use their threats against them and just close out games whenever you're just smacking them with their own value creatures like Siege Rhino. Sitting in our 3 slot here, we have an Offense of the Foremost at $6.69 with a 13% increase of 78 cents here. And with Anafenza, it's a card that is really good tech for the junk decks to be able to just side it in for any of the matchups that are playing cards like Sidisi or are trying to get value off of playing Tasigur and are trying to just dredge their deck away into casting their spells for a much cheaper cost. Anafenza is a good way of keeping those types of interactions and strategies from getting way too explosive and aggressive, while it's also a really good card in the junk aggro decks as well, which have just recently gotten cards like Warden of the First Tree and Valorous Stance as well. So overall, Anafenza is actually looking pretty good right now. Sitting in our number 4 slot here, we have Perilous Vault, which is up to $10.04 with an 8% increase of 76 cents. So our Perilous Vault is starting to become more popular because everybody is just gravitating towards those control decks that just try to stop your opponent from having a lot of different angles towards beating you. And by that, I mean the decks that are trying to jam Planeswalkers and very good ones at that, and also play some good valuable creatures as well. So for those decks that are trying to just beat you from different angles and just try to beat you from all different sorts of directions, the Perilous Vault ends up being a good way to just slam it on the table and then pretty much just be able to, at an instant speed, wipe out everything that your opponent has on the table. And last but not least, we have Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth with a $7.47 price tag and a 10% increase of 69 cents from its previous price. Urborg doesn't need way too much explanation. As black decks start to see more play, Urborg is going to start to see more play, and at this point, it's pretty much an auto-include in those black decks as a one-of. It makes their deck more consistent, and it's a more reliable way of actually being able to have double black for cards like Bowblight and Hero's Downfall in the case of playing decks that have very split mana bases and are only playing 2 colors like blue-black control. So that about wraps up this first installment of the MTG stock market. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. How do you like the series? Do you have any new ideas or improvements that you would like to see in future episodes? And basically, where would you like for me to go with this series? Do you want it to be more in-depth or less in-depth, rather? And yeah, just let me know any suggestions that you guys have to improve this series to make it more enjoyable for you guys to actually watch and listen to. Thank you guys for joining me, and until next time, peace out.